Hello, hello, and welcome. My name is Penny Meckley Porter, and I'm here today with you to talk about mindful eating. It could be a topic that's close to your heart. Perhaps you've noticed that you don't eat very mindfully, or perhaps this is like completely a new idea to you. So, I'd like to start. Let me see, I just lost. There we go. I'd like to start today by first anchoring ourselves. We can each be anchoring ourselves in our breath the way I normally start. So I'd like you to sit comfortably in your chair. Let's keep our eyes open this time. Sit comfortably in your chair and take a couple of deep, refreshing breaths. Breathing at your own pace. But the inhale is a little bit deeper than usual. The exhale is a little bit deeper than usual. Notice your body, anything that's going on in your body. And notice your brain, your thoughts, whatever might be going on in your brain. Next, I'd like you to notice the places where you feel hunger, places or place. So notice where you feel hunger and where you generally feel thirst. And just kind of check in with yourself. Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Would you like to eat? Is that different than being hungry? Is there something that seems really tasty in your mind? Are you full from something you already ate? You might be able to tune into your answers to this, and you might not be able to, which sounds kind of funny. Like, why wouldn't we be able to tune into our hunger? I can tell you that I had, what are they called? Kidney stones. I had kidney stones, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. And I'm sure that the reason I had kidney stones is because I had lost touch with my thirst. So that somehow I had kind of lost the connection to my thirst. Just by being busy and having a busy life and just not really paying attention to my thirst, just not really kind of slowing down to notice it, I'd lost that connection. And so I think I just, wasn't drinking enough water. That's why I got kidney stones. I haven't had them since. But it's kind of an odd idea that I would be out of touch with my thirst. But we can be out of touch with our thirst cues or with our hunger cues. And today's practice will help us to get more in touch with those cues. Okay, so I'd like you to grab whatever it is you're going to be eating and put it in your hand. So I'm going to start with, I don't know, I have a couple different things. I guess I'll start with a Twizzler. It could be candy, it could be not candy, it really could be anything. I've got my Twizzler. Let's be sure. There's my Twizzler. I'm not even crazy about Twizzlers, but we had them here at the office. So you're going to hold your item in your hand. And I want you to imagine that I want you to use your beginner's mind. Now, beginner's mind is kind of acting as if you've never done something before, almost like you're a 2-year-old who's never seen this item of food before. Some people say act like you're an alien and you've never seen it before. So I want you to come with that fresh mind, as if you've never seen this before. And I want you to look at your food item. Notice its color, shape, size. You're just noticing how it looks, perhaps noticing things you had never really noticed before, like my Twizzler's a little shiny, obviously twisted. Then I'd like you to imagine, so we're still holding it. You might feel a bit impatient, that's okay. I'd like you to imagine everything that helped get this item into your hand. The sunshine, the water, the soil that fueled the plant's growth. Obviously, this is a stretch for a Twizzler. The people who harvested each plant with care, the knowledge and innovation behind the farming, transportation, storage, delivery, and creation, right? With a Twizzler, of course, we created something. I also have a Triscuit, so that one it's a little bit easier to see that it was, the wheat was grown someplace. Fill yourself with a sense of gratitude for everyone involved in the cultivation and preparation of this food item. Just having some gratitude. Now I'd like you to close your eyes and turn your attention to the sensation of the food in your hand. You can move the item between your fingers, feel its texture. Explore any ridges or folds, temperature. Is it cool or wet, slimy, sticky, or dry and brittle? So we just used the sensation of touch on our item. We used our sensation of sight. Now we're going to go with the sensation of smell. Bring your item to your nose. And just notice whatever you smell. Does that smell cause any any memories to arise? You may find your stomach growling or your mouth watering in preparation of eating the food. Bring the item kind of towards your ear. Obviously, I'm not going to hear anything with my Twizzler, but when I move my fingers around, I can tell that it's sticky. If you have a chip, you could just move the chip a little bit and you'll hear it in your fingers. We're just kind of taking our time in an unusual way for ourselves. Now we're ready for the taste. So I'd like you to just take one bite of your item. And take your time in eating your item. Chewing it about as slowly as you can. Noticing texture, taste, of course. Noticing the saliva build up. Perhaps even noticing what you do in your mouth, right? So you move your tongue and do different things to keep your food item where you can chew it. Notice that you want to swallow the food, but I'm encouraging you to really take your time. Eat it more slowly than you really kind of thought you could. Noticing that you want to swallow. And you normally would have by now. I mean, you want to swallow your food. I don't know. Of course, you're going to swallow your saliva. When you're ready, go ahead and swallow for sure. Go ahead when you're ready. And see if you can even notice where the food goes. Like inside your body, maybe you can have a bit of a sensation of swallowing the food and feeling it go down to your stomach. And then again, pause. You might be really tempted to take another bite already. You might have the urge to take another bite already, right? We have lots of urges on this topic of food. Take your time. Notice yourself, notice your emotions. You might be really frustrated with me and how slow this all is. But just keep noticing yourself. Let's go ahead, have another bite. Let's have that whole same experience. Maybe I'll time a minute. So go ahead, take your bite. I'll let you know when a minute is up and see if you can take a minute to notice. Still not a minute. There we go. That was a minute. What was that like for you? Oftentimes people notice before they take a bite, there's a buildup of saliva. There's anticipation. There's urge. People say that they don't normally pause at all. People can become aware of almost like inhaling food. Obviously, you can't inhale food, but just like kind of like eating absently, not really noticing. People talk about taking extra big bites, and when they pause and do this exercise and eat just a small amount, it can feel so different than when they take really big bites. But I'd like to continue. We're not done yet. I happen to have another food item. I didn't tell you to bring another food item, but going back to the same food item, you can pick up another one. I don't know if you have potato chips or chocolate or whatever it is you have. Pick up another one. Put it in your hand. Look at it with beginner's mind as if you've never seen it before. Almost like if you were 4 years old and you'd never seen snow coming down. You know the way when it's coming down and it lands and it's, you can see the crystals in it. Let's say you'd never seen that before and you would just be like, wow. We're using that same kind of mind to look at our food item. Looking at it, noticing, touching it, putting it in your fingers, feeling it, smelling it. I don't know, a Triscuit doesn't really smell that good. If I'd had a potato chip, I would have grabbed a potato chip, but I have Triscuits. And then by the ear, listening, I don't know, I can hear something if I move it around a little bit. Back into your hand and thinking about what it took to produce this. Not thinking about it as much as having gratitude for all the people and steps and processes it took to get this item to you. Having some gratitude. And then again, we're going to eat slowly. When you're ready, take a bite, and I'm going to wait a minute and just chew slowly before you swallow. Not quite a minute. Now that's a minute. And partway through, I had the urge. I almost picked it up and took another bite. My own little urge. So how about one more, and then we'll process this a little bit more. Or a couple more. So just see if you can finish up. I'll just let you know every time there's another minute. And just see how slowly you can eat your food and how purposefully. And see if you can notice anything about it. Like this time I noticed the salt on my lips and the salt on my tongue. Good job taking your time. Staying present. Also notice your body. If you're a little bit kind of like uptight about this or worried you're getting it wrong, there's no wrong way to do this. So you're doing it just fine. But maybe noticing if you're worried you're getting it wrong or it feels just kind of weird or feels kind of dumb, you can notice all that. And then you just take another slow bite and a slow chew. And then we'll wrap up this little exercise and talk a little bit about where you might notice in your life that you eat kind of quickly. So let's talk about breakfast today, if you had breakfast. Lunch. You could be watching a recording of this. I haven't had lunch, but you might be watching a recording. Lunch. Dinner. Just thinking about how much time did you take maybe to prepare the meal. Then how much time did you take to eat? So did you prepare your meal? serve it up on a plate or a bowl. Go someplace with it, set your bowl down or your plate, scoot your chair in, and take your time. Noticing your food, maybe you had a hamburger and fries, I don't know. Noticing your food, picking it up, taking a bite, relishing your food and the flavors. Likely you didn't. That's why we're having this exercise. Putting your food down, chewing fully, taking your time, and then picking up another item, right? Maybe French fries. And so it's likely that you rushed through that without really thinking about it. And when we rush, we're not really in touch with our hunger cues. Well, that not being in touch with hunger cues has nothing to do with rushing. They are both just things that happen when we're not paying attention. So we'd like to be more in touch with our hunger cues. Take more time to eat. See if we can even remind ourselves to pause in between each bite. You've heard before about that kind of dieting advice that says set your fork down between every bite. Part of that is so that we can be more mindful and more purposeful about what we're eating, how long it's taking. You're probably noticing other things about your own habits of eating, and so there's no shame in this. So anytime we learn more about ourselves, we're reflecting more, becoming more insightful. It's good to make this big attempt to not shame ourselves. So let's say you're noticing that you normally eat really fast and you don't pause at all to notice your food. Perhaps you eat past feeling full, perhaps. Perhaps you eat because things taste good, you enjoy the texture, there's a busyness to eating, there's kind of a soothing sensation to eating, and all of those things are different than, being hungry. So now if you take a look at the food that you have left and think about eating it, and just noticing how you feel. Do you have an urge? Like, I don't really have too much of an urge to pick up my Triscuit, but I would kind of like a little bit more of my Twizzler. Noticing how you feel about it, what your urge is, how much of it you'd kind of be tempted to eat. Noticing if you have a tendency to eat past being full, and if the answer is yes, there's no shame in that. It's a big struggle. So one thing that you could practice, well, you could practice all of this, obviously, but my idea for how to practice this is, in particular, the first bite that you take of anything and the first taste that you take of anything. Maybe you have morning coffee or morning tea. Maybe you have an evening soda or seltzer water or wine or beer, whatever it is. You notice the first sip, especially. Same with the first bite. Whatever it is you're eating, any time of day or night, always notice the first bite you take. And if you can get into that habit, then you're incorporating mindfulness throughout your day. And when you notice that first bite, I hope you will pause, take your time, take a little look, take your bite, and notice you obviously don't have to take a minute to eat your first bite, but making that effort can be a valuable way of reconnecting with your own hunger cues, reconnecting with your own full cues, and eating more mindfully. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you'll come back next Friday to the Jefferson Educational Society live Facebook feed. We're going to do a series on ants. You may remember a couple of weeks ago I talked about automatic negative thoughts, and that automatic negative thoughts are really bad for our health, mental health, and our brain health, actually. So I'm going to be doing a series of talks and mindfulness exercises on automatic negative thoughts, helping you learn more about it. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you soon.